All right, shalom, shalom. First things first, I want to give all honor and praise unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, B'chakurash. Say, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Barakati Yahweh, Barakati Yahushai, Bahashem, B'chakurash. And we give double honors to our apostles and our elders, which your apostle elders, a great millstone, which feeds us with knowledge, wisdom, and understanding through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Yahushai. We say shalom to the elect out there on the four corners of the planet Earth that's pushing this truth with all sincerity, honesty, and faith. Those that are listening and hoping and waiting on the time to come of deliverance. Lord willing, we'll be in that beautiful number. Let's jump into this lesson. This is an update. We just had a nuclear weapon test that took place, and this was about a day ago. Now, but everything you see is intensifying. So these are ongoing. It's a trend. It's something that is trending, that is letting you know it's grooming people, grooming their minds to hear nuclear weapons, nuclear tests, all these things. So it's not calming down. It's intensifying. They're going from talking about it to having new weapons, but not saying if they're deploying certain. They've actually deployed it with the Resnick, all right, and then now with the situation that's happening in the Caribbeans, and then you see these tests that are taking place. So it's not a coincidence that this just took place, because you have warships, Russian warships, that have docked off Venezuela. And I did a video on the last one. They cut the sound, so I'll try to trim it up, or I have to redo the whole video, but I'm just going to mention it now and go over it to say that there's been Russian frigates, all right, about two of them, and then they also sent a warplane that is known for sending the Wagner group, all right? And the Wagner group is a mercenary branch of the Russian army. And they took planes and they took flights that were, what does it say, that weren't normal, because they took flights to places that weren't under the Western control and didn't have to worry about supposed cargo inspections. So what were they sending over there? All right, they're also sending these mercenaries over to that area, and that's showing you that that's a defiance. So let's play this. This is a good time to play this video. I slowed it down. This is, who is this? This is Responds Marsher. What is that? Marishimer? I'm pronouncing that wrong. Salakia. But he goes in, and this particular video has gotten almost about 300,000 views. This is fair use. This is for educational purposes only, and I'm going to slow it down, but you'll be able to hear it. And he's bringing out the facts to say that this frigate, these two frigates that are parked there, that's a defiance, because the situation that's going on in Ukraine is a expansion. So if you've been watching this for a period of time, you'll know that this has been a buildup, all right? So that test that just took place, that was a response to what you see taking place here. So everything is a theater of war. Things are happening, man. So let's play this.
Something extraordinary unfold in the Caribbean, something that would have been unthinkable just a decade ago. Russian warships have arrived in Venezuelan waters, not for a ceremonial port visit, but as a calculated act of geopolitical signaling. This is not simply about naval maneuvers or the projection of maritime power. It is a direct challenge to 2 centuries of American dominance in the Western Hemisphere, a challenge to the very premise of the Monroe Doctrine itself. Since 1823, Washington has regarded the American.
Right there, that's the main point is that this is a direct challenge. This is a direct answer to the hegemony that you see taking place in this hemisphere. So just like the Cuban crisis took place, this is right along that era, because they're not shipping missiles in, but they're saying that they're going to provide a Resniks to Venezuela, okay? And they're speaking about it because you see Tomahawk talks. But what just took place was a testing of a new Tomahawk system, Why do you think this took place? This was a signal. This is signaling back and forth. That's why you got to watch all avenues, because there's multiple things taking place. It might seem coincidence if you're just watching one thing, but if you're watching everything, you're seeing, okay, you sent a frigate to the back door, and this test was planned. I think it's been in the works, but it says resuming full testing of nuclear weapons as president called for last week would be unnecessary, costly, undermining non-proliferation efforts, and empowering the nation's adversaries to use their own tests as intimidation, experts told Defense News. All right, Nero unexpected announcement, which came in the form of an October 29th social media post, surprised many nuclear specialists and sparked concerns that the U.S. may end its 33-year moratorium on nuclear weapons testing. Because Salakia, it says because the other countries' testing programs, I have instructed the Department of War to start testing our nuclear weapons on an equal basis. Trump posted on Truth Social. This process will begin immediately, he wrote. When asked for comments about nuclear testing plans, the Pentagon public official pointed to October 31st video Defense Secretary Hegseth in Malaysia, in which he said testing nuclear weapons is a responsible way to ensure the country has the strongest, most capable nuclear arsenal, so that we maintain peace through strength. Okay, and you see what took place. All right, and there was an instant response for it. So it wasn't just something that swept under the rug. And then you have about let's 7 hours ago. It says Trump's defined nuclear test. Hold on. I don't want to. Okay. I don't know if they'll. No, I don't want to subscribe. Hold on. It says Russia draws up plans to conduct nuclear tests after announcement. It says Russian President Vladimir Putin said Wednesday his country would draw up plans to conduct nuclear tests after Trump announces the U.S. would do the same last week. The Kremlin leader said he has asked relevant documents to submit coordination proposals regarding the possible commitment to work to prepare the nuclear weapons testing. Russia has always strictly adhered to the continuance of the adherent to the obligation under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, CTBT, and we have no plans to deviate from this commitment, Putin said at the meeting on the Russian National Security Council. So he backed it up, but then you see this, so it's clear provocations and pushing the goalposts. All these things right here were, and this was, I was hearing about it. They were saying, but at the end of the day, this is prophecy that's being moved. This is not average things, because these two were locked horns in the spirit. Just like you see the situation with Jacob and Esau when they were in the womb, they were beefing. They were going against each other. They were fighting. It was a turmoil and what does it say? A rivalry. So these two are rivalries in the spirit. So they're not going to get along. There's going to be movement after movement, and also the angels are moving on the minds of these leaders through the spirit and power Yabashim Yashai. Okay, and it says we have no plans to deviate from these commitments. Let's go down here. It says if the U.S. or other signatories of the treaty begin nuclear testing, Russia would also have to take appropriate and proportionate responsive measures, Putin added. It says in the past week, Trump has both announced the U.S. reigniting nuclear testing and suggests he has worked on a deal to denuclearize with Russia and China. So it's talk, but they conducted it. Okay. And it was an ICBM test. I think it was a Minuteman 3. It says an unarmed Minuteman 3 intercontinental ballistic missile launches during the operational test in Vandenberg Space Base. Chief Air Force photo, Airman First Class, and then they have the photo. So they launched it, man. Okay, so now that's gonna trigger more responses back to that. It says Air Force conduct unarmed ICBM launch as President or Nero ponders nuclear testing test. And it says, let's see here, nuclear test threats risk an upending global test ban regime. All right, so these things are being pushed, man. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah 51 and verse 11. Let's read from the top. We're reading, let's read Amplified. Sharpen the arrows, take up the shields, and cover yourselves. The Lord has stirred up the spirit of the king of the Medes, because his purpose concerning Babylon is to destroy it. For it says, for that is the vengeance. And what's the vengeance for? The slaughtering, the murder, the earth being ran in a wicked way, in the bloodshed of the children of Israel, which are Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. So that's why you see a controversy, just like in the time where Babylon was never destroyed. Okay, it was never burnt. Okay, it says because his purpose concerning Babylon is to destroy it because it was inhabited. It was what you call a precision strike. Okay, just like you have the what does it say? The Marines, the Special Forces. It was a special strike, and it was dismember, a decapitation strike. It says the Lord has stirred up the spirit of the king of Medes, because his purpose concerning Babylon is to destroy it. For that is the vengeance of the Lord, vengeance on Babylon for plundering and destroying his temple. Okay, and you see it taking place now. Is all these things are being set up. They're being pushed. The goalpost is being maintained on that what does it say? That guideline, or that same rhetoric that, look, there has to be war because they're being stirred up. They're being moved. Let's see what that word, let's watch. Let's get King James. And it says, I've raised, there we go. Let's look it up. The word there, raised up, means to lift something to a higher position. Damn. Because check this out. Now, with that definition, because now Russia has some of the top tier weapons when it comes to that type of arsenal. You have the Poseidon, you have the Avangard, you have the Sarmat, you have the Reznik, you have the Skarkov, all these different these weapon systems that have been developed in response to the incursion. Okay, so all this is this weapon. That's why we're just reporting. We're just telling you the news through the Spirit and power Yabashim Yashan. We're filtering through the scriptures. That's why it says he's going to lift up. So now, what does it mean when it says raised up? That means he is raised up. He set that spirit on them, that warlike spirit, to be above Babylon, because it says his weapons is to destroy it. So you're seeing them moving in a way to, and really, who are they making these weapon systems for? Because they're allies with China and all the BRICS nation. So these weapon systems are geared towards what? A place that would have to be Babylon. That's another reason that this would have to be Babylon the Great, that was prophesied in the scriptures to be in the time of the end. All right. So this is showing you that the Edomites are still here, because they were prophesied to rule Babylon in the coming of the Messiah. So you're seeing all these taking place. This is a movement on a high level, because they're already planning it. They're saying, if you're doing it, then we gonna do it. And they're gonna keep going back and forth, but there's gonna be something that happens. We don't know what's gonna take place. We got this Venezuela situation, we got the Ukraine situation, we got the Middle East situation. It can happen anywhere, but we know that prophecy must take place in order and decently and in order. So we're waiting on that financial system, and that's going to be simultaneously as you see the mark, all right, our favorite subject being pushed on a high level. Then you're going to see that there's going to be more escalations and more things. You have planes falling out the sky. You got all types of things happening, man. All right, so Lord willing, is that a final lesson? I'm going to leave it there. With that, I say call Allah, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, With that, we say Shalom, and more, not never keep faith when the time of the end. Shalom.